Welcome back to Stuff for Whatever podcast. Your host, B. Quanchi here. We have a very special podcast this week. Before we get started, I always like to say the best way to support me and the channel is to like, comment, and subscribe. You can do it here on YouTube. Also follow on Twitter to catch fun tweets and updates. And also follow on Twitch. You can catch me stream gaming on Tuesday, Fridays for now. And you can catch the stream VODs right here on YouTube. It's B. Quanchi all around. And you can find the social links in descriptions of videos, about on channel, and all that, so not too hard to find. And speaking of streaming, last week I did some special streams where we were just playing some demos from some indie games, most of them still in development or early access, and I had a lot of fun with that. So the VODs are up on YouTube as well. Some of the games I played was Paglin, which is like a Peggle, but like with RPG elements. It was a fun RPG called Small Saga, which I might play the demo more. I'm not sure how soon these games are coming out, but I don't know. I've been kind of jumping around with other games I want to play on stream. Kind of wish I had more following, more motivation to stream more often, or all that, because I do have a full time job and all that. And for now, the streaming YouTube stuff, whatever, is a hobby. So, but it was a fun time, and we'll have more fun times because it's one of those things too. If it's I'm going to play games anyways, might as well just stream it and see if it clicks with people or not, or whatever. But sometimes I wish it would, because sometimes I forget. I don't know if I'm just kind of like boring when I do it, but I try to keep talking and all that. It's like one of the things that can be like Markiplier or whatever, be entertaining as play video games. And sometimes I try to remember to like do stuff, but I do also put clips. This what I call highlights. I just want to get a little snippet from the streams so you can see those on the Twitch channel as well as I try to make compilations too. So I'm pretty sure I mentioned it on the last podcast about wanting to do commentary on YouTube, and I just recently put a video. I get kind of interested when I kind of fall into like a rabbit hole, like a little time trap when it comes to these listicles that are recommended to you, like on Facebook or Twitter and stuff like that. So I just put one about 50 gross boomer foods. So check that out. But I think I might get in the habit of doing that more often, because I'm not sure if that's stuff that other YouTubers do or if it's something that there's a niche for or a gap. But I kind of find it interesting just kind of go over this list, especially since some of those articles are pretty dumb and some of them are the articles are riddled with ads. It's kind of like doing the YouTube version of it, and I think part of it is that I don't think my presentation is the greatest, but I did put some effort in it. But I think some of the ideas I have I'm a little lazy with. And it's like one of those things that, hey, if I don't have the success, why bother? But or if I can't make it like presented in a really great way, especially with limited video editing. Yeah, because in terms of my video editing, it's free. It's called Movie Maker, not the Movie Maker that Windows used to have. But it's annoying because it's not like as good. It's in the free version. The thing I like about the free version, it doesn't have a timestamp or anything. But they say you can't split clips in. So if you do like a long video, you can't really split it. You can only like trim the beginning and end. And there's only one track for the audio, really. Like, I guess there's a video audio too, and then you can add a soundtrack, but it's really hard to kind of like fine tune compared to, I think, Premiere, because I had a little experience with Premiere back in the day. And it's like, if I had the means, or if I had more of a, way to, like, if it felt like, hey, I want to invest more into this, like, money wise, even if it's a few bucks, I would, but, anyways. I guess the main thing I want to talk about this podcast is kind of more of a story time podcast. But this is a time that I was accused of credit card fraud. And just to give a spoiler, no, I didn't do anything wrong. No, I didn't do it. But I've just been thinking about it. It happened a long, long time ago. But sometimes I think about it from time to time and just kind of like reflecting or even still processing how much it kind of like messed me up of being accused of this fraud. But it might be an interesting story as well, and I kind of wish like things would be done differently if I was smarter, and maybe like I don't know, I could have played that a whole lot differently. And it's not like the worst thing. I think it's just me overthinking and thinking the worst of things, but it might be an interesting story. So that'll be the big chunk of this podcast. So before I get into the story, I am going to change some names of the people. I really, really doubt anyone I know or who would know who I'm talking about. But just for whatever sake, I'm not going to like name names specific. I'm going to make up fake names. I'm not going to go do like every single details, but some details are relevant for the story. So I don't know. I kind of like curious if anyone I would know who I'm talking about. But I highly, highly doubt it because I think just kind of again processing this, I think it really affected me socially and mentally, and probably maybe a reason why I have a much smaller group of friends. But to go back to the beginning, this might be even like a therapy. I feel like I have to lay down on like one of this therapy couch to talk about it. But this was then I was barely 21 because we were going to the bars and some background, I'm gay and going to the gay bars, and sometimes you see like those magazines. I think weekly for the most part. I think once monthly, but I go like articles about the community and stuff like that. And then there was this one guy who was uh, coming to town about a book he came out with, so it kind of intrigued me. I don't get too much detail, but let's flash forward to getting the book, having it signed, because the guy I found very attractive, although he lives in San Francisco and all that. So it's not like somebody who I don't know. So I did have a little bit of physical fun and kind of I don't know. So even looking back at it, I almost feel like a little bit cringy being like a little dumb kid, even though I was 21. But the next part of the story is going to the bar. Like he introduced me to this other guy, and this guy we're gonna name him Steve, and attractive guy too, and we kind of hit it off, physically and stuff like that, and it kind of goes forward from there. The thing about also Steve is that he is partnered and their relationship is open. His partner, we're gonna call him Wayne for the story, and he's older than him. I'm not sure of the exact ages, but I felt like Steve was 20 years older than me, and maybe Wayne was 20 years older than Steve. Yeah, Steve, if not older. So, we kind of hit it off, and I've been to the place a few times. We even, had like brunch and all that. And there was like another friend in the neighborhood that with a couple too that we didn't do anything with like physically, but kind of like going out to brunch and stuff like that. But just having a few encounters and stuff like that. But it was when it came to like the physical stuff, it was just me and Steve. And I can't even recall like I know like Wayne wasn't involved. I can't even remember even seeing him like fully nude or anything like that, or even really touching him much physically. Besides, like a hug and stuff like that too. But just to also kind of paint out the detail, Wayne was at the age that he took blood pressure medicine or heart medicine that affected his ability to have an erection. So I don't know, maybe that was part of the reason why they had an open relationship when it came to like physical sex and stuff like that. But yeah, that was the part that yeah, it was nice. And even looking back at that, I think maybe there's sometimes like in between like the physical and going out for a meal and stuff like that. I'm trying to think if we went to the bar much. Maybe even like watch TV or whatever, but I'm not sure there was really much of a meaningful connection besides that. But as time goes, like I remember one night at a bar, I met this guy who things moved forward with this guy because he became boyfriend, partner, however you want to call it. So, kind of like the next part of the story is that I started seeing this guy. Things were getting a little bit more serious, so kind of slowly went away from Steve and Wayne to the point that I felt like I did a really bad job of like contacting him because sometimes you know how it was like that time where people might still like call and have conversations and check out on people, so it's almost kind of like ghosting them before ghosting was really a thing and all that. So as time went on, things got more serious with my partner, and we even moved in together. It was very quick, though. I'm not saying that take your time, whatever. It was just one of those things, that situation that we moved in really quick together because we both wanted to get a new place, apartment, and things kind of lined up how it did. But a few months going down the road, I remember my friend, I call friend, but it was the guy who wrote the book, who I met in the beginning of the story. So the guy who wrote the book, I kind of kept in touch with him too. So God, I even one time I even went to San Francisco and bumped into him, and that was pretty fun on the street. But I digress. So basically, the friend who came with the book was also coming out with a calendar, and I thought it was really cool. And he was like going to be in town and doing like a signing event and stuff like that at like one of the local gay bookstores or whatever you want to call it. So that'd be kind of cool. So, what happened at the event? I guess you can call it an event or whatever you want to call it. It's kind of like low key, but with the signing calendar, um, the couple, Steve and Wayne, were there too because they were also really good friends with the book guy, the original guy from the beginning. So they were there to support him too. So we're getting calendar, we're having him sign it, and I think they had other models there like signing it too. And I just really felt this really awkwardness because I didn't even talk to Steve and Wayne just because it kind of felt something weird in the air. Like, oh, it's like again before ghosting, was the thing is like, oh, I lost touch. I'm being like a bad friend or bad contact, and that was with my partner too. So it just kind of like felt weird, felt awkward, and I didn't really know what was. I just kind of felt like, oh, I was kind of being a lousy friend or being. I felt guilty and all that. So kind of did own things and went away. And I decided to give them a call. I called the home, and I remember this was back when I was taking classes at night to earn my degree. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna drive home. You know what? Let me call the house and talk to Steve or Wayne and just kind of say, hey, I'm sorry, kind of lost touch and stuff like that, and kind of felt bad and stuff like that. So I was calling and I talked to Wayne, the older guy, and this is where things get really weird, almost scary for me, because what happened, I guess he was saying that, hey, that Steve's credit card was stolen and a lot of charges were made in Vegas. Like I feel like it was I try to remember the details. Like I think it was a couple grand and all that. But the scariest part of the story is that Wayne said like around that time, I called them and said, "Hey, I'm in Vegas. I'm having a good time." So it's like, "Hey, you were in Vegas calling us saying how you're having a good time," and then we see all these huge credit card charges on Steve's credit card bill. And that freaked me out because I've never been to Vegas in my life. That conversation never happened. And I tried to tell Wayne, like, hey, that wasn't me. I had never been to Vegas and all that. But he, I guess, felt convinced or whatever. Again, this is a guy who is so old, he couldn't get a boner because of the medications he was taking. So maybe he was confused. And that's just like, I remember like during the conversation, I had to exit because it was kind of like a highway straight shot home, so I had to get off the freeway and go in the parking lot, and I was like having a panic attack, and like because I was thinking that conversation's never happened, and he's convinced it did. Like, what really happened? That's what freaks me out when I think about it too. Is that like what really happened? Because I just never been to Vegas. The conversation never happened. Why does he think that happened? Like I even got in my head, like was somebody like was I being set up? Was there somebody trying to impersonate me to make me look bad? And it kind of felt like how the conversation went is like it's not like it kind of like okay we believe you did it, but we're not going to do anything and just kind of let it go. Like not like looking into it with authorities or anything like that or anything like that. So, but I still had that panic. Like, what if they did? Like, what if I get sued or sent to court or something like that, being accused of credit card fraud. And one thing about that is that I really don't get that I feel like it's very stupid is that if you steal somebody's credit card and charge up in Vegas, you're not going to call the person that's like saying, hey, I want to get caught. Like anyone who steals a credit card is not going to call the person and see what they're doing. Because like, oh, we're having a good time in Vegas, and then they see Vegas charges on the credit card. Like that's just fucking stupid. And I was young at the time, so we didn't even think about that. But yeah, why would you even do that if you did steal credit card? And not that I'm recommending or giving advice on how you would do that, but also why Vegas? Like I guess it makes kind of sense because Vegas you can probably like take out cash and have a lot of fun. But I feel like there's a lot of cameras. Like it felt like if they were concerned about fraud on a credit card account, they can just like call a credit card company. It's like, hey, can you look into this, investigate them, there's probably cameras everywhere. So if you're going to see like who used the card fraudulently, they can find that out and all that. So I feel like looking back, like, hey, you can really caught the person who did it, even if it did happen in the first place. So again, that really freaked me out. And again, I remember like having these like even thoughts that like, what if I did do it? Like, what if somehow I stole a credit card and went to Vegas and didn't even know? Like, if I had a multiple personality disorder, or schizophrenia, or something like that. Like, there's a point that I was like, having mental breakdowns, thinking, what does a part of me that like I black out, and all of a sudden this other person takes control and like lies, cheats, and steals and stuff like that. But no, that never happened because I never had situations in my life like where days just black out, where time passes and I have no idea. So I never had anything like that. And I went into night classes. I had a full time job. I had a partner that with a serious relationship. There was like no really opportunity or anything like that to really do something like that. And it's never been like any remnants, like nothing like suspicious, like, hey, why do I have this extra phone? Hey, what's this doing to my bank account, or what's this information? So there's never been like weird stuff like another person would have done. Like if it had a different personality, like there's no really evidence of stuff, especially if you like going to like Vegas. Like I can't even imagine being blacked out and having someone take over and do like a long trip to Vegas and all that, because that would have been like a couple days at most, at least. But yeah, I was having like breakdowns and feeling like, oh my god, it like is someone out to get? Because again, that phone call, like, did someone impersonate me? Is someone setting me up? Something that, you know, should I be really worried about? Because I even remembered, and not that I had issues in the past with self harm, but I felt that desperation to escape a situation, so it did really cross my mind. And this is where things get a little more, I say bad, but down the road, like there was this Halloween party we were going to go to because someone that my partner knew, and we're going to call this guy Roy, and that's going to be the only big hint of story if anyone I know might hear this. I'm not sure, but that's like the biggest breadcrumb I'm leaving. But like Roy had this like big Halloween party that we are going to go to. But the thing is, Roy was much closer friends with Steve and Wayne, and I guess they told him to tell me to leave. But it was like one of those things like a game of phone, like that goes from one person to another. So basically, told my partner tell me like, "Hey, we have to go." So I don't think I ever had a conversation with Roy, and that's one thing I think is like pissed me off when I go back and think about it, is that like Roy never talked to me like, hey, I'm a person, all that. But I can understand like, hey, if these are his closer friends and they have a problem, stand by his friends. But I would just say fuck Roy. That's the one thing I want to say is fuck Roy for not even having a conversation, not treating me like a person. And I'm not sure like what Steve and Wayne relay, like what information, like if they went into specifics or they just went to like, hey, we have a problem with this guy, like can you ask him to leave? So I'm not sure like, hey, we think he stole a whole bunch of money, we think he stole his credit card and stuff like that. So I'm not sure exactly what information was relayed, but I just remember having that thought like, oh my, I have to worry about my reputation. Like I feel like my reputation's ruined for something I didn't even do. And does really suck having to tell your partner, hey, we're leaving. It's my fault, even though I didn't do anything wrong. So that really, really sucked. But he was really cool about it. But nothing really happened. But I remember, like, still that feeling, like, of my reputation and stuff like that. I think this also comes in with, like, socially messing me up and mentally, like, it kind of worried. Because this guy, Steve, seemed pretty popular as well. I'm not sure. Wait, I don't know everything about everyone, but I got to the point like, because eventually, like me and my partner like broke up and separated and stuff like that. So, I always had a concern like if I made a new friend or even a new relationship, like, is my path going to cross back to Steve? Because some people throw parties too, like there was like the gay pool parties and stuff like that as well. And one like, hey, is this going to happen again? I'm going to be asked to leave parties and stuff like that. If I form friendships, new friendships, or even new relationships, and then we find out that Steve is more like established friends with them, and is that going to be a problem? Because remember, there was a second party as well. Because down the road, like I had a roommate, and he talked, "Oh, dude, this is Halloween party," and I didn't even realize that at the time because I didn't know the details. It was kind of the spur of the moment, but yep, it was at Royce. It was the Royce party, and he got asked to leave again, and that felt, I think that was like maybe a year or two later. So kind of feel like it's still the remnants of the effect, and it's kind of like having those panic moments, like walking the room and feel like this people know this, have this idea of this reputation of you and all that, and always like because I always thought like I had this panic like if I got sued or like sent to court and all that, even though I didn't do anything wrong, like oh my god, is that going to push me over to do something drastic to escape this situation? And I think this kind of now it kind of helps you at least think about it more, process it. Again, the things I wish I would have done differently is like kind of pursue it more. Like, hey, that wasn't me on the phone. Like, even try to help them, like saying, hey, if that wasn't me, let's find out who that is. I didn't do it. Look into it. Whatever I can do to help. I want to see what would happen to help you guys out. But then part of me, like, what if the story was Steve was maybe overcharging a car to doing his own fraud and I was the scapegoat? Like, what if Steve was doing all this stuff and, like, oh, I'll just blame this person and stuff like that as the scapegoat? Even though it maybe just explains his partner, but, like, not pursue it to authorities because since I didn't do it, the authorities aren't going to find anything. So I think I really would have, if I would have done it again, I really pushed it for the truth. In a sense, like, hey, I'm innocent, stuff like that. Or even like at Roy's party, at least kind of pushed to have him have a conversation with me because I still think that's kind of fucked up too. Again, I totally understand his where he's coming from. If it's like, hey, my closer friends have a problem with this person, but still like talk to me like because he didn't hit me like until after like, oh, that's what happened. Because I remember having to explain to my partner what happened and all that. It really sucks, and I think it really screwed me up for a long time. And over time, like I remember, like I had a phase where like friending people, I kind of like know friends of friends and friends of friends and stuff like that. Like, hey, we might meet, and then it's kind of like over time, just kind of push people away and have that shrinking friends list of just like unfriending people. Just because I kind of worry about this really bad reputation I didn't have and didn't deserve, and yeah, it was really really hurtful. And sometimes I even still see Steve because remember like earlier this year, like oh I might like, push myself out of my comfort zone and join some of the local Facebook groups and stuff like that for a small baby step, and I saw him posting in it, and like I'm gonna leave this group. And even kind of see him on like one of the gay apps as well. And part of me almost wants to like shout out or like call him out publicly on Facebook and stuff like that or social media, whatever you want to call it. But part of me feels like, hey, maybe part of this is me not fully understanding the situation or to the point that, hey, this is my perspective and my perspective may not be true. I think, honestly, it could just be like a very, very unfortunate set of events that was handled very poorly, especially on Steve's end. Because I even like even before recording this podcast, I decided to pull up his Facebook page, and he, I guess, seems like a good guy, but because of what happened, he will always be a bad guy to me. Like, I don't really have much interested in like having any kind of friendship with it or trying to like repairing any damage that was done between us. Maybe the only thing I would be open to is to have a conversation like, okay, because I want to hear your side of the story because you never bothered to talk to me about it. Because if it is a misunderstanding, I felt like I went through a lot of pain I didn't deserve because of it. Like, I had to freak out of my reputation. I had to freak out because I thought I had schizophrenia. I thought the worst in me, and I thought, what if I get sent to court? And one thing I had like ideas of being arrested or sent to jail. Although I think in this case it would just be a civil thing, so you don't. I don't know. I don't know too much about the law, but I think if it was a much grander amount or more going, it may be more of a federal crime. But I think if they did actually accuse me, if they actually proceeded or like try to sue me or something like that, then it would just been like something in courts and like a civil case. And I just kind of wish it would say that because like, hey, I didn't do it and all that. But it could have been a lot worse situation. Like even when I think about like, they could have been like, hey, we know you did this. and instead of going to authorities, you have to pay us back, whether with money, with sex acts, with whatever. So it could have been a lot worse situation, like being extorted or anything like that. But it just kind of felt like it was that weird, just like, okay, we're sure you did this, but we're not going to press anything because maybe I don't know. It's like one of those things like you hear from like a sitcom movie, like, hey, maybe somebody really needed. We are very hurt, but we're just gonna forget it and move on. Which doesn't make sense to me because I didn't know them for that long, so I felt like if I would give them like, okay, we'll kind of like forgive you but move on and still say these things about you, so your reputation is still messed up. But yeah, that was a long time ago. Like, not to age myself, like over a decade ago. And maybe this helps us to talk about it, even though it's just me and a microphone, and maybe people commenting on the video. I don't know, because this whole podcast thing has been pretty much, again, I say this a lot, like me yelling to the void. I think this helps, like, feel like, okay, this was a situation, like kind of comprehending and processing, like, how much this impacted me, how much this hurt me, especially, like, barely being 21. That's so young to, even though that's an adult, that's so young to, like, feel like your life is over, to feel like your reputation is ruined. Like, even have thoughts like moving away, moving to a different state, just because I felt like is it people not going to want anything to do with me because of this? But again, I don't even know how much detail that they went into. Again, they talked to Roy because I got kicked out of the party, but maybe they went into details. Maybe others don't know this whole story. So it's like one of those things that the awkward feeling. Maybe people with more like what you want to call it, like social anxiety, like when you walk in the room and feels like everyone talking bad about you, everyone's judging you badly, but no one really gives a shit. It's like that feeling, like walk in the room and feel like everyone hates you, but pretty much most people in that room don't really know you at all and don't even have an opinion of you. But yeah, I just felt like a lot of my adult life was like that, and I think maybe this taking positive. I just feel like I learned a lot, and like one thing, not to be cliche, like whatever doesn't kill you make you stronger, but just again, part of me just wish I knew what happened. Again, the thing that about the detail of the story that still freaks me out, or at least still like, I just want to know what happened. I just want to know the details. Is that call to the older guy Wayne? Like, why did he believe I called him from Vegas when I never did? Like, what really happened there? Like, did someone impersonate me? Did I really don't know, and that to this day, like, still gets to me a little bit. I don't know. Maybe this has been a little therapeutic, just like talking to you. Even if no one really listens to me, I feel like this is a little therapeutic as well. But yeah, I think that'll just wrap things up. Yeah, so thanks if you listen this far, thanks for listening, subscribe, and I would love more feedback as well. Again, I feel like if I have more downtime, I do more with the channel. Again, like commentary, because I have some ideas in terms of like commentary on like cartoon shows and movies and stuff like that. I wonder if I've been kind of more inspired to do like the listicle things. I've like been kind of like, again, my stupid way of putting effort to it is like making a slideshow and doing commentary about the article and stuff like that. So the baby boomer food one is out. There's an older one I did that's like the same format. That's about, it was like an article about pet peeves, but it was like from a job finder site or something like that. But the pet peeves one is similar to that. So I'm like, again, I don't see every video on YouTube, like no one can. But I wonder if that's like really a thing, like people going over these stupid listicles and maybe making that like a series or something like that. But yeah, also check out the game stream VODs and all that. Give me feedback because I kind of wish I had more of an audience when I stream, or at least more feedback. Because I really like doing the demo things, like for indie games. Not that I'm a really big platform for it, but if I could put a spotlight on that, that would be pretty cool. But I don't know. I just would want the attention, just so it's like, hey, I'm not just somebody who's streaming by himself playing these video games and all that. But for the most part, I'm having fun, and it's been a learning experience too. So I guess like one little tidbit too, if anyone's interested or thinking, oh, I might stream or I might do stuff on YouTube, like just do it. I know a lot of people who like get like questions like who are more successful YouTubers to like just do it. But I think one thing is that I get in my head about is it going to be great? Like, it feels like at times like bare bones. Like, oh, I don't want to put it out if it's not going to be as good. But if you don't put anything out, then it's still nothing. At least you're going to learn. Like, I even feel like minutes talking to a microphone is experience. Even if it's like again screaming to the void, I feel like it affects on how I record my voice. Even because I mentioned before, like sometimes I would get in mode like I think it's still kind of you may notice it like at the beginning of like a stream or a podcast. I kind of get into my like, hey, I'm talking to a microphone, so people are gonna hear this kind of thing. Like when you work for a call center, kind of like stuff like that. That's my best comparison. But like one of those call center voices, I feel like I'm trying to stray away from, but I feel like as I get more experience and stuff like that too. But that's about me rambling. And again, I think this episode means a lot to me just because it's made this therapeutic. And I don't know. And again, I have my own conspiracy of what happened with these events. But yeah, just kind of like, wow. I don't even know if you would even call it trauma, although it kind of feels like it was. Again, this guy Steve could be a stand-up guy, and on that, it just could have been a really unfortunate situation. But the pain I felt, the feelings I had, is real. My perspective may not be the absolute truth of what happened, but that's the only thing I really can go off of and all that. But anyways, enough rambling. So again, like, comment, and subscribe. Links in the video description, all that. And you all have a great day. Thanks so much for listening. If you're at this point, that really means a lot. Thank you.